success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and in the Hit Lab with me today, I've got an extra special treat for you. Folks, I'm proud to call him a friend. I've been a client. My whole family has actually been a client of his over the last few years. And if you want to know how to bootstrap a company from scratch and blow it up into something massive, you're going to love what you're going to hear today, folks. I've got the founder and president of True Friends Moving Company, Chris Knowles. How we doing, Chris?
Doing great. Excited to be here. Right here from Nashville. Been following you for years. Proud to be your friend, and that you've been a client too. I appreciate you having me in, man. The studio is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's the first one right there. Well, I meant every word I said, man. I've been a fan of yours for quite some time. If it wasn't for anything else than how you guys do your Christmas party, I'd be a big old fan. You know what I mean? I can't wait to tell your story today. I meant what I said, though. Like, you've literally moved, I think, just about every member of my family at this point. You've moved me more than once, and you'll be moving this office when we go into our new spot when that time is right. And
I heard about it. Can't wait to see it.
Well, man, like, when it comes to moving, it's kind of like there's something that I love, a sales tactic. It's either you only get to pick 2 out of the 3, but it's either going to be good or it's going to be fast or it's going to be cheap. But you only get to pick 2 out of the 3. I feel like you guys are a rare combination of the 3. It's really good, it's really fast, and the rate's been super competitive, man.
Yep. It's a competitive market. This market in Nashville is something else, man. There's a lot of people in this space, but really just the branding and the crew that we've built. We have, fortunately enough, been able to have like 90% of our clients to be either repeat or referral customers.
Folks, did you hear that? 90% of their clients are repeat customers or referrals. That's the way my wife and I did it in the insurance business.
That's it.
Those are the best, the best leads. That's the best form of marketing, is somebody going out and validating you, right?
Yeah.
Well, you guys have done an amazing job with that. So you are not just a businessman, but a family man. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh yeah. So me and my wife, we've been together. We just celebrated our 15-year anniversary. I mean, as a young man, 15 years, that's rare these days, you know.
That's right.
We got married on our 4-year anniversary, so that was exciting. A year later, we had our first daughter, and then we now also welcomed another daughter. She's now 5, so the blessings of those 2 little girls are just the best thing ever and the highlight of my day.
Man, we've got the 13-year-old son, but our daughter is a year and a half, and like, it's so different. Being a girl dad is like the coolest thing.
It is. Yeah. I can imagine, man, especially yours being, is she 2?
Just so she'll be 2 in April.
Okay. That's such a great age for a little girl, for sure.
It's hysterical. Like this, you never know where anything is, like the remote control. Like, she likes to hide things in like the smallest of places, like in between couch cushions, and like that's she puts it away. And it's like, oh man, where'd the TV remote go? It's like, dadgummit, man.
Yeah, that doesn't go away for a while.
Well, I'll be calling you for the cheat sheet because you've done it twice.
Yep.
You've done it twice. And your wife's involved in the business as well, right?
She is. Yep. She's been involved for about 5 years now. So we're excited. She plays a huge part. I mean, I'm the visionary with the business, and she makes sure everything is in line legally and financially, and handles her books, everything like that. So she's been a huge part of that.
Man, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. You know, man, power couples, husband and wife teams, like, look, they're rare. Not everybody can do it, but the ones that do it, I think they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know what
we
I'm saying?
definitely balance each other. You know, the things that she's good at, you know, I need help, and vice versa, you know.
Man, and sometimes if I ever cop a tude with my wife, you know, when it comes to work stuff, I definitely can't do that at home. But if I do it at work, man, she gives it right back.
Oh yeah.
She gives it right back.
Absolutely.
It kind of pumps me up if I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, she's the law. She lays the law at work. I'm more of like the friend. She's like the real boss.
Oh man, I love it. Well, dude, like, so, you know, when you think of like, I mean, your business. So when I mentioned before, you have a fleet of trucks. How many do you have now?
Dude, up to 22.
22 trucks. Like, and folks, these are moving trucks. These ain't cheap little trucks. These are massive, big machines. and you have to have a place to store those.
Yep. We've been blessed enough to move into our new facility back in 2020, actually, and able to spread out a little bit. Funny story, when we started, I met always down at the little local truck yard. I would just go meet guys there, hand them their itinerary, and then go back home. And then our next facility after that, I was in for probably a few more years, and more accidents happened in that little truck yard than anywhere else because I was just packing them in. We were growing at a rate we couldn't keep up with.
Man.
So finally, at a place now where we can spread them all out, all have their own parking spot dedicated, and still a little more room to grow.
Man, that's awesome. There was speaking of when you moved into your new facility, one of the funniest things. Something that sticks out that I still remember seeing is you guys have a lot of security and cameras on all of those assets out there.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
millions of dollars, and somebody. It was cold and it was some ice, and I remember a video that you had posted. Somebody just they fell for what seemed like slow motion
Oh, yeah.
for 10 minutes.
True Friends bloopers, at least once a year we catch somebody on camera doing something hilarious, and it's usually a slip. It's usually looks like a banana peel, and feet go all the way up to the air. It's great.
Well, I love it, man. You guys you guys have done an amazing job. When you think of a conglomerate like this, a massive company like this, that's doing the revenue that you're doing, growing up, I never really thought about insurance. So that was right place, right time. The Lord literally gave me a gift when he gave me that opportunity, saved my life. But not many people would think, I'm going to be a badass businessman. I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to do a moving company. You know what I'm saying? It's a very saturated, competitive market, right?
It is, definitely. We we say we put the sexy in moving because it's not a sexy industry. Nobody likes it. And there's but we've branded it, we've done it well, and we make it look great, like a great brand to follow.
Absolutely. And if you've been in town, they've probably seen you nationwide because you move people all over the place. But here in town, it's a staple. You see it. You see the big, the awesome cartoon logo with you and the dog all over town, man. They're everywhere.
Big blue trucks with the dog. That dog's more memorable than anything, really. People always are like, the truck with the dog, right? They remember it. Dog people love it. Kids love it. Families love it. Yep.
That's right. That's right. How did you get in? How did you start it all? Where were you at in life when you started? Had you ran businesses before?
Never ran businesses. Always been in sales. I had done moving one summer. The family was doing great, but I was like, man, I always wanted to own my own moving company one day. And went into sales, doing something completely different. Started climbing the corporate ladder at Dell. Actually, when I decided to take the leap, I had enough saved up in my 401k, and I was like, man, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. I could always go back to sales. But decided to take that leap of faith and bought me a little truck. Didn't know anything about running a business. I thought I could do it, but learned real fast that through trial and error, the ins and outs of running a business. But thankfully, it's the right time. What's funny, my wife and even family members and friends were trying to talk me out of it.
Really?
Yeah, it was funny, and just taking that leap of faith was huge, and just believing we could do it, and looking like a national brand even when we started out. It's funny, we bought just a little old used U-Haul truck, still in the fleet today, and we call it ODB now. Is our number one truck, and
That's awesome.
Yep, believed it till we achieved it.
Dude, there's an old saying, you got to see it to believe it, but it's wrong. You got to believe it to see it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You got to believe it to see it. And it's the hardest thing to do. My wife and I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of folks about helping them investing in their small business or launching an insurance agency. And the hardest thing to overcome is people have a hard time believing in themselves for whatever reason. But if you don't have somebody believing in you at home, dude, the success rate is incredibly low with just the biggest reason, they come here, let's say they interview with me and they're on the fence and it's somebody that we really want. So we're pushing to get the deal done. And they go home and they're going to get grilled by somebody, whether it be their parents or significant other or whatever it may be, wherever they're at in their life. And if they can't answer all the questions, it's natural. The person that loves them is going to want to protect them, and they're going to say, "Hey, man, if you don't, maybe you shouldn't do this right now."
It's because though I had such a good job. I mean, it was a cush job.
Yeah.
6 figures. I was doing great. Leader in a team at a Fortune 500 company. Like Dell. And she's like, "You're going to quit that to be a mover?" Like that doesn't even make sense, you know.
Yeah.
But I just believed in it and went after it, and I'm glad we did. And of course now she left her 10-year, you know, career with the hospital, and now she works with us. So
Man.
definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you started out, it was just you and a truck. How many, like, it was just, did you have a couple guys with you? What was that like?
My first employee was just a buddy from the gym. I'm like, hey man, I'm starting a moving company. I want your help. You know, he didn't have a full-time job. He's like, yeah, man, I'll definitely help you out. And we just started moving people. You know, I remember our first job. It was a terrible job. I probably wouldn't even have taken it today, but we were like, we got a job, so we're gonna do it. Cleaning out some old like dingy basement at a radio station, and it was a proud moment for sure.
Man, that's awesome. Folks, like, again, I've been a very happy client, a repeat client. And one of the things that I would say, you know, if you're ever on the fence about like follow up after the jobs are done, using automation to get feedback and so on and so forth, like, you guys are unbelievable. Probably the best I've seen in just about any industry at following up on the customer experience after it's done.
Yeah, customer experience is huge to us, and a big reason too why we get so many repeat customers. Because if something goes wrong, which it does occasionally, you know, is making it right immediately.
Yeah.
You know, as a local business, you know, taking care of the client even in the event if something happens. I mean, that's huge. We want to still make them happy, you know, with the end result for sure.
What's been some of the ways in which it's really hard to have QC quality control the bigger you get? Right. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of processes in place. You got to have the right team members in place to oversee things. Some companies call them management. Some companies call them leadership. Like that was probably one of the hardest things for me to understand, is that, like, I call it the 70-30 rule. Everything that I delegate to somebody else is going to be 70% as good as if I did it.
Yep.
What was that experience like for you?
Definitely. That was my biggest limitations to growth was, you know, my mindset. I didn't know how to run a business. So for really the first 5 years, I was trying to just do it all myself. And I grew like crazy, but I stopped scaling. I had plateaued at some point, and I was getting almost burnt out. Couldn't do it all at once. Couldn't manage, you know, from payroll to, you know, to customer service to sales. I mean, I was just trying to do it all. And thankfully, or not thankfully, but I was able to get my first awesome employee to work with me because of a freak accident he had. It took him out of his moving career, but he was so loyal. I'm like, I want you to come in the office with me. At that time, I didn't realize how awesome it would be to have help. Right. And then once I got it, I was like, oh wow, we can actually do twice as much with twice the people. Twice the admin. So at that level, I was like, wow. So yeah, now we need a person for this department, and just started putting them key players in place to really focus on control and quality control, you know?
Yeah.
And now each person, you know, is in their lane. Everybody's focused on making sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And through the right processes, you know, we've been able to just fine tune it every day still. I mean, it's always a work in progress.
You know, another thing that has stood out to me is that, like, you have a lot of your team, a lot of your staff has been with you. Like, there's not you see a lot of moving companies or industries like that, and there's a lot of turnover. Like, you guys, you have guys that are building careers out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Our path, you know, we love to hire from within, and our path, you know, we've taken lots of people from movers to sales to management to their own locations, you know, so it's definitely a blessing to be able to hire from within and coach them, mentor them. You know, that's the biggest part. And one of my favorite blessings about running a business, really, I work with a bunch of young males mainly. And as a young male who didn't have a father, being able to pour back into those young people, man. You know, some of them, you know, moving's not necessarily something that you want to be as an adult, but like, so some of these people are coming in from, you know, rough backgrounds, maybe don't have the right type of, you know, upbringing. So to show them what's possible, show them, you know, what a real relationship, husband and wife supposed to look like, a team that, you know, works together, and just the business, the plan, the way of life is like I said, one of my biggest blessings about running the business.
Well, dude, you know, certain people have a lot of money, but the people that are truly like rich, there's a lot of ways to define that, but like, I think relationships are a currency, and I would say that you are a master of that currency, man. Like, it's pretty awesome to watch, and it's incredible. Like, not everybody gets that the people matter that much. Mm-hmm. They're not just always a number. They're like, they matter too, and they're not just a fit for you, but you're working on being a fit for them. So it's two ways. Like, who taught you that?
I don't know. I mean, I have mentors that I followed, really, what do they call it? YouTube University.
Yeah.
I mean, your podcast is huge. I follow lots of mentors, virtually online and or books. I've pretty much had to raise myself. I mean, I've never even met my dad my whole life. I was raised by a single mom. She worked, two jobs every day. So, for the most part, I raised myself, and I knew what I didn't want as a dad or as a future. So from that, I've done the complete opposite and made sure I've given and poured into everyone else all that I could.
Man, I tell you what, people would ask us, out of all the folks you interview, the people that go into the 1099 world or the outside sales world or whatever it may be, they're the people that have the highest earning power and earning potential. Who are they? And we ran a lot of reports to find out, and who stuck out above everybody else more than just about anything was a single mom. The single mom gets it done. They don't make excuses.
Oh yeah, no excuses. Yeah, I learned a lot. I mean, the willpower of that woman still to this day is is definitely a driving factor and showed me what hard work really looked like.
She has to be so proud of everything you guys have done.
She is. I've got two little sisters too, and it's good to be able to just show them what's possible in the family. Because I didn't have any backup. There was nobody to show me the way. I'm proud to be able to show that to my family and just be the generational change that we needed.
Man, I have a sister that's 2 years younger. I think she's the talented one. I think she's the smart one. And it's been so cool. She lives down in Clearwater, Florida, so I don't see her that often. But she's always been such a great. She's been great feedback for me. She says all this stuff helps her out a ton, and that we've been one of the leading people in she went through a nasty divorce and had some things that would cripple a lot of folks, and it may have crippled her for a minute, but boy, the last year and a half's been awesome for her. And she says that a lot of the stuff that we were putting out and that we're doing here is a lot of inspiration for her, and that's the best feedback ever. I
bet.
That's the best feedback ever. So I've got a picture here where you are holding an award that is quite prestigious, right? So tell me, and it's the second time that you've won that, right?
It is, yeah. But even coming through COVID, the last 20 and 21, winning the Inc. 5000 for fastest growing companies in the country. I mean, that's a huge accolade, and I'm just excited to be here to be able to share that with others and show what's possible, especially from a moving company. We've came a long way, and being able to do that, I have no doubt we'll be coming for a three-peat this year.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, I look at guys like you, and I think that there's so many people that are looking for credible sources because they want to start their dream company or they want to launch a product or whatever it may be. And through a lot of technology, you do a great job of promoting everything through your company. We'll create some outlets through guys like you, like that people can go and subscribe and become members of platforms that you have and start to learn all the systems that you had. Because dude, how long have you been doing this now?
This is our 10th year.
10th year. If you would have had somebody like you mentoring you in the beginning, would it be safe to say that probably would have cut that time in half to get to where you're at today?
Half.
Maybe
At least half. Yep.
So Coach Burt, who was one of my great previous guests, he says everybody needs a good coach in life, and he makes a great point. My son has 2 drum instructors, a guitar teacher, a vocal coach. He gets private lessons for baseball and all these different things. Yet we do that for our kids, but a lot of adults don't do it for ourselves. And a lot of times after we get out of school, we don't seek any further counsel or mentorship. Right. So folks, it's guys like this that you want to be paying attention to because they're literally living it right in front of you. And through all the tools of technology, you can watch it happen a lot of times real time. Right. And he's done all this in the market of Nashville. So talk to me about Nashville has been a booming town for a minute. A lot of people, some would say, oh, he's got a moving company. It's like being they say everybody's a realtor in Nashville these days because so many people buying homes. So, he's a moving company. Nashville's great. That's why they're killing it. Dude, it's competitive. These people that move here, they don't know you.
Right.
You have to get their attention.
Yeah, we got to stand out for sure. And branding is huge. Reviews, testimonials. I mean, all that's huge. When they look online and they're looking for a top company, we're always at the top 3, any platform that you look at, usually number 1. And we're happy to report that we have more 5-star reviews than any other local company. And one of the big reasons we've been able to also, secure favorite moving company in Nashville, best moving company in Nashville year over year.
So like, the reviews are huge, and a lot of people will give negative reviews without anybody being asked. But a lot of times you have to look or, ask people if they had a good experience. Hey, would you mind sharing that with us? And that was something that, like, through your automations, I know I've been able to do that a few times, and my family has too, very easily, right in my inbox. And within like a couple clicks and maybe like 3 minutes, I've left you a review and so on and so forth. So like, how did you know that was going to be a very intricate part of your marketing? Like that's brilliant.
I came in as such a transition with old school companies, because right when I come in, even the phone book was a big thing. Like me having a page in the phone book was I was excited about that, but it was kind of on the back end of that, phasing out. And the companies I remember when I started that I was looking up to, they had such a big presence. They had a huge fleet. I'm like, man, I want to be like those one days. But their online presence was just terrible. And I quickly noticed that within a year, my online presence looked better than the big guys. And I'm like, wow, I'm really onto something here. I really need to focus on online branding, retargeting, asking for reviews, feedback, things like that, and really just carve us out in our own little space a little differently than the other guys were doing that were just kind of stuck in their old ways.
We talk about this a lot. Obviously I believe a lot in digital content and social media. And, like, the average person, give or take, is spending like 5 to 7 hours looking at that sucker on that screen. And it's like, well, is your business on that screen? Because if not, they're going to be buying what you do from somebody that's on that screen. And you were way ahead of your time. Like I say, you had some great foresight into that. You have, like, there's the face-to-face world, and then there's the world on the internet, and it's two different places. And you got to have, like, most people have a great reputation locally or in person, the people that know them, but online nobody knows anything about them. And that's a big deal. Like they say, Rory and those guys at Brand Builders, they're like, your personal brand is just your reputation. But really it's your online reputation.
Yeah.
Is your personal brand. You guys have done a great job. So I like blue, as you can see here. There's a lot of blue in here, and because it's the color of trust. The color of trust.
It's comforting.
Yes.
It's cool.
Is that how you came up with blue?
Trustworthy. It's all of that. I mean, a lot of the big players too in the market. You got to differentiate yourself. Fox is red. College Chunks is orange and green. Mm-hmm. So we're blue, and blue is a powerhouse. I mean, it's such a powerful color. I mean, it's hard to miss these giant trucks going down the road. It's just a beautiful color.
How nerve-wracking was it when you first had your first a few trucks turned into a fleet, and these guys are out there all day on the road driving, handling people's precious items. There has to be some significant training before somebody goes out in the field, because I know when your guys move my stuff, they were super careful. They wrapped everything, every item, took drawers out. It was awesome. We didn't worry about nothing. As a matter of fact, the biggest mistake we made is, you wake up the morning they show up and there's some stuff that you couldn't pack because you got to live there that night. They were waiting on us to get those things. They'd already loaded up everything else, and they're waiting on us to get the stuff done.
Yep.
They're fast, man. In my old days in AV world, we had guys driving box trucks all across the country, and that was anytime you got a call from a guy that was on the road, it was oh crap, this can't be good.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, we have awesome customer service if something happens, these days, I mean, we've got cameras in the cab, outside the cab, everywhere. So, I mean, we're constantly have to make sure people are being held accountable, and the True Friend Standard, is a process that we instill in them from day one, and our onboarding process, showing them what we want and expect for them to be a true friend, is huge, and what really separates us from the competition.
Man, how did you guys get nominated for that Forbes awards? That's there's a lot of companies out there.
You're talking about Inc.?
Yeah.
Okay, so Inc. Once you meet a certain criteria, you can apply, and then once you apply, you'll show where you fall in the list across the country. So once we knew we hit that mark, we were excited to apply, and then we're shocked to hear we were so high on the list. Year after year, even. So that's huge.
Absolutely.
And it opens so many doors too. Once you get on that kind of platform on a national level, I mean, people are reaching out from all over, because you're really making a stance at that point, and are really getting noticed nationwide.
Absolutely, folks. If you got to understand that too, like if there are some great companies that represent me out there, and they have. I obviously pay those people to do their work, PR companies, whatever it may be, and their job is to get me placed in some of those things, right? So there's always it's always pay to play. Everything's pay to play to some degree. Like even in the music industry, if you want to win a certain award, you got to pay their dues,
Yep.
to be a part of that, right? So, man, that's cool. I don't think a lot of people understand that either. That to even be regarded or considered into those things, like you've got to go out there and market your business and put yourself on their map, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, man.
Branding for the most part, I mean, in anything you're winning, you gotta just have a, great branding effort. I mean, it does take effort to win awards. You have to, ask your people to vote for you for one. So yeah, that's huge.
What about how long, so getting people onboarded, you guys are obviously really good at it. But it probably wasn't always that way, right? So how many years was it of learning we're like, we're not going to get burned on that again. That's going to be a part of our onboarding process.
Well, like I said, that first 5 years was trial and error. I mean, I was trying to do it all myself. And as we've been able to add key members to our team, I mean, yeah, we've grown, by leaps and bounds from what we were, and the systems that we've created today, and it's ongoing. I mean, I was telling them, I was going over scripting today. Next week we're doing Airbnb training where we're going to rent this whole Airbnb and spend 2 days of just deep diving in video processing and everything, just really monetizing what we've created here and making sure it's our branding and our way of doing things. And that's constantly just the thing we're always improving.
You guys spend a lot of time focusing on culture, and somebody once gave me a great definition of culture. He said, it's just the way we do things here. And I was like, man, that's really simple, and that's good. I don't think that's the way Webster defines it, but it was spot on for me, right?
Yeah.
I have had some repeat guys when I worked with you come out and do some stuff, and it was because you always ask, like, hey, do you want this person back? And it was like, hell yeah, they were cool.
Yep.
But no matter who we got, it was the same experience every single time. That's the hardest thing to do that I found in business, is create that same consistent experience for the customer, no matter franchise companies have mastered it.
That's why Chick-fil-A does so well. That's why we're looking to franchise, because our model is just so duplicatable, and the brand is so just synonymous when people think moving around Nashville. I mean, people really remember it. So that's one of my biggest goals, is to start that franchising model as well.
So if I don't know how close you guys are to being able to do that, but if somebody was interested in, man, I'm interested in that, would now be a good time to start emailing you now and get things moving, or what's the timeline look like?
There's never a bad time, but I'd say probably 6 to 9 months would probably be the fastest trajectory on something like that.
Excellent. Well, folks, while you're at it, you need to check out Chris Knowles on Instagram. It's at Chris Rolls, and also the company at True Friends Moving. All these details will be in the show notes below. And you know what, man? TrueFriendsMoving.com is their website. Check them out. The dog is always a friendly sight, and you guys will enjoy that as well. We were talking earlier about getting that dog, somebody going skydiving in that mascot. Guys, I'll be there for that one if that happens.
As long as his head don't fly off, I think that's a plan.
Well, like I say, we've been there, done that, and it was crazy. So, dude, you're obviously in great shape. You're doing the 75 hard right now.
I am. Yep. Day 26 today, right?
Man. So, all right. So what's
25.
Let's walk people through that process, because just like anything else, is the first week the hardest?
It doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easier. The biggest challenge really is staying committed to doing the 2 workouts a day. That's huge. Not drinking, gallon of water, all that's huge. You have a great accountability group too, though. Makes it a little easier.
What? So why would you were in good shape before you started it? Business has been doing good before. So you're always looking forward, always trying to find ways to improve. What made you pick to do? Is this the first time you've done the 75 hard?
I did it once 2 years ago. And it was definitely a game changer. I mean, and really no better time to start a resolution, as they call it, than January 1st.
That's right.
One of my best friends, who was actually on your podcast the other day, Jeff, hit me up and was like, hey, man, let's do this. We're going to do this. Let's build a group. And I'm like, oh, man, if I'm all in, let's do it.
I love Jeff is such a cool dude and has such a killer vibe, man.
Yep, he's good people. For sure.
Good people it's people like that are successful. They just they find the good in things. They see good things all around them. They surround themselves with good people, and good things tend to happen, man. I feel like the universe reads your vibrations, you know?
Absolutely.
So you're a family man, spend a lot of time with family. And on top of the working out and everything else, like, how are you? That was a struggle for me for a long time, was like being done for the day and being like, I always felt like I had to like take time off or clock out. And like, I'm a husband and a father right now. And if something happened and the phone rang and I had to go do something, I'd be like, hey man, I'm out. You know what I mean? It's the same way when I go home. I'm still a business owner. Still an entrepreneur, still all those things. When I go home, I'm just not being one at that moment. I think from what I can see, you do a great job with managing your time and spreading yourself out, to give everybody what they need. Coach Burt was in here and he told a story about a guy that was super successful. He said, we're at this dinner and his wife literally like looks at her husband and says, he says, I'm so glad that we're here. And he basically said, like, what are you talking about? Like, we just get the crumbs. And that was like a really powerful statement, you know, there's no time for your family at home. How are you able to manage all that? Like, do you have any tools you use? What kind of thought process is it?
Yeah, really just habits and time blocks. You know, that's huge. I follow pretty much the same process every day. You know, I get up, usually my first gym time, I get up around 5:30 a.m., go ahead and knock out my morning workout. That's huge. While nobody's awake yet, you know, in my personal time, I'm doing a podcast or an audiobook or something to get me fired up in the morning. Feeding my mind and body at the same time is huge, and it definitely sets the tone for the rest of the day. That next hour, I'm spending time with my family, my girls. I'm getting them up, getting them ready to go to school. So that's good. We always eat together, get ready, maybe watch a little quick TV, and get to hang out with the kiddos in the morning. You know, so that's huge. And then get to work. I mean, the rest of the day, I'm all in for work, but in and out of meetings. I mean, really, block time is huge. Being able to balance that. And thankfully, somehow, through building the right team, I mean, really at this level, it's just delegation has been the biggest part of being able to step away, that making sure, you know, the right person's in place to be able to hold it down, essentially, you know. Man,
delegation is such a key point of scaling anything, and it's incredibly hard.
That took a while, though.
Oh man, it's a skill.
It took a while. I mean, to build that. I mean, it definitely was not an overnight thing. I mean, I was at one time. I mean, I definitely always had to be available or at their call when things happen. You know, because when you got guys out 7, 8, 9 at night, and you're the guy that they call, you know, you just got to be available.
Yep.
Thankfully, my wife was super, you know, understandable at that moment when we were just at that level. But it's a blessing to be able to be where we're at now and no longer have to do that. You know.
That's a great point, man. Whatever you're going through in life, you know, it don't have to be permanent.
Right.
You know what I mean? It can be temporary. And people are like, well, how long is it going to last? I'm like, you want to find out? You know, that's the only thing I know to do is like, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Because the moment you master that, then your whole life changes.
Yeah.
But like, make no mistake about it. Learning to delegate is a skill set, and it's one that has to be developed and practiced and nurtured and all those things. And that was probably, for my wife and I, that was one of the last needed skills for us before we really took off. It took us a minute to do that. We figured out that old saying, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but you teach a man to fish, he eats forever. Like, you know, it was easier and faster for us when we were so busy to just solve the problem and go to the next thing than to take the time to teach them to solve the problem.
Yep.
And like, before you know it, they never evolve, and all you're doing is solving problems for them, and you eventually run out of time.
Yeah, it took a while to understand that not everything is urgent, you know, that right. It can wait. It's okay. And usually by the time, if it really wasn't urgent, it probably already got resolved anyway.
That's exactly right. So outside of like marketing, so what made you come up with? I was telling you before, every November we do our month of hope here at Team Hyder, and a couple years ago we partnered with a candle company to generate some money for an organization that needed it, and we used the inspiration of the cartoons of you and the dog for our candles. They did one of me and Ree with a snowman.
Yep.
Right. So how did you come about? Like, was that your first logo, or like what generation was that, and how did you figure that out? How'd that come about?
It took quite a few revisions to find the exact one. I was kind of going back and forth with the colors, the theme, even the name. You know, True Friends. It was almost Best Friends at one time.
Okay.
True Friends. it's just because people have said for years, because when it's time to move, true friends are always there for you. And we actually trademarked it. So,
oh, let's go.
That's been huge. People can remember that. And people have probably been saying that for since the dawn of moving, and so people remember that. I mean, it's synonymous. When you think moving, you think true friends. So it's been a blessing. But the dog, I mean, that was my actual dog. People remember that dog more than anything. When you think also man's best friend, true friend, they kind of all tie together. It's a cartoon. Everybody loves cartoons, from kids to older people. Everybody loves dogs. They say with branding or marketing, if you put a dog or a baby's in your marketing, people make it more memorable. So boom, everything just ties together.
That's right. And one of the things that I learned too I learned it from the great late Charlie Monk, who was in here last year. And he was me being around in the music business with Dad, watching them work together. And Charlie was a master marketer. But he would always wear the guys out that were trying to become stars. Like, you got to look like a star all the time. And the moment that you put the moment we started, the image behind me and everything else, if I change the way that I look, that means I got to change all these things that come along with it. And so when you made that, you've had to keep almost the same, a very similar look.
Oh yeah,
the whole time.
I had the goatee forever. I mean, like yours, my wife was even like, you have to keep it now because it's a part of the brand.
That's right.
Yeah, I did this just to make sure I could connect the dots, but then I kind of liked it.
Well, it's still close enough. But folks, all those things matter, and you did a great job of picking your all your fonts. Who worked with you on that? Was there anybody that deserves some credit for helping you develop any of those things? Brand Builders has been unbelievable for me in my journey.
Not so much that, I mean, a company, but I mean, my wife is probably one of my biggest supporters and inspiration when it comes to things that I'm going to try new, and then I also bounce around just ideas from our team. But starting out, I mean, yeah, it's me and my wife coming up with the ideas for sure.
And you guys are we're in, so literally today, and this episode, when this comes out, this will be in the past, but today they poured the concrete inside the pool and outside. You guys are maybe 6 months ahead of me on that. When did you get to make the first splash? It was last fall?
It was, I think it was August, actually. Nothing was finished, but we're going swimming. We're going to go ahead and start having events. I mean, we're still actually working on little pieces here and there, but yeah, I mean, we swam for the whole rest of the end of the summer, and it's like I said earlier, it's the best investment ever into family time. And
if I'm not mistaken, I could have swore I saw some puddles in a picture back there in December sometime, right? So was there some Christmas time swimming?
This year? Well, it's a heated pool, thankfully. So we're able to get out there no matter the weather and really do it. Because we originally supposed to launch in the summertime, in the summertime, and then it actually pushed out to winter. So we're like, man, I don't care when this thing drops. Make sure you have a heated pool because we're going swimming regardless.
That's the way to do it. We chose this. We chose the same. They say we're going to be swimming by April, so we shall see. I'm excited. Every time they do something new out there, it's although I'm and the guys that are doing our stuff, Harpeth and all those guys, they're Dan and Harpeth and that crew, they're fantastic. However, sometimes if I got to work late or come in on a late flight or whatever, when they would be drilling out there at the crack of dawn, and I'm ready to have my yard back and my driveway. I'm tired of parking in the street.
Oh yeah, that was the biggest mess ever. I mean, your whole, I'm sure my neighbors just really enjoyed all the equipment and dirt and mud all the way up the road. I mean, we live in a cul-de-sac too, so we have two neighbors that I'm sure they just absolutely loved having all that every day for 6 months straight.
Oh man, and when they were hammering through the rock, that was literally like clockwork. 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 bang. There it went.
Anywhere in Tennessee, you're gonna hit rock.
That's right. Well, we're excited for ours. We were watching you guys do theirs, and I was like, hey, man, I can't wait till they do that. I'm really excited for that. So the next 5 years for True Friends, you mentioned that franchising is going to be a big part of your model, right? Yeah. What else are you guys looking to accomplish in the next 5 years at True Friends?
Really just start True Friends Giving. That's a big part that we're looking to give back to our community. I mean, we try to do a lot. We partner with different charities even now, but I have the website for True Friends Moving, just haven't launched it yet. So that's going to be a big initiative. We've even brought somebody recent on the team that's going to help more with our local charities and philanthropy items, and that's going to be huge for us. So giving back to our community and just people in general, that any way we can help. I mean, we have the trucks and the guys and the time and the resources to do it now, bigger than ever. That's the biggest and best part about running a business, is giving back, you know.
And you guys have so Christmas is our favorite time of year at our house. Like it's conflicted a little bit with opening day for baseball season, but that's just one day. But Christmas is like, I just love Christmas, and with Christmas there's a lot of Christmas parties. Oh, yeah. I haven't been to it, but I would put you guys' Christmas party up against just about anybody's.
Oh yeah, our Christmas parties are amazing. People, I mean, remember those, the videos, the reels, the pictures. I mean, they go on we talk about those for months, you know. And the gifts, like I said, I mean, pouring back into our team, giving away gifts, and those are huge, man. Everybody's a blessing and walks away with some awesome prizes. So
there are some real awesome prizes.
There has been, for sure.
Some of the prizes so big that they probably couldn't carry them home that night in the vehicle they rode in on.
Yeah, we've had to call in a moving truck the next day to get some of their stuff back to their house. For sure.
That's awesome. And you are always dress the part. So where did you get, so you have a blue tux jacket that I just love.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, Nick Hyder is a big inspiration for dressing clean. If anybody in the city knows how to dress, it's you. So just you know, setting the tone and making sure I'm trying to keep up with you.
Do you got any tips? So everybody that wants to be a businessman goes through the evolution. I've already went through I wore suits every day for a while, and then when I didn't have to anymore, yep. I was really excited not to. But everybody goes to that stage when they're first getting started. They want that look. Yep. For me, I had a couple of. I'm fortunate enough to have a few custom suits that I picked out the fabric, and they literally designed everything, got the name inside and all that stuff. However, Marcus Whitney, my buddy, has a couple sons, and when his son was, before he went to college and joined the armed forces, he had a side job through Men's Warehouse at K&G Superstore at 100 Oaks, and he was, all of a sudden, this like 17-year-old kid is busting out in better suits than I got, coming home every day, and I was like, bro, like, tell me, like, what's the secret? He goes, K&G Superstore. I'm like, what's that? He was like, they're owned by Men's Warehouse, but it's like all the overstock, and so I walked in there. And like name brand, awesome stuff, and it's all about how you get it tailored, anyways. That matters.
Oh, that's all that matters.
And like literally, like I walked in there and I'm like, about 3 suits for like $200, and then of course I spent $500 on the tailoring or something like that. But still, 3 suits for $200, and then all the accessories and everything else. And so when all of our insurance agents were coming through back in the day, that was a thing. Is when they did certain things, we'd take them there and buy them a suit at K&G, get suited up and everything else. Where were some of your spots where you found all your stuff?
So, well, these days, D&K Menswear, that is my guy. Tommy over there, he owns it, local small business in Rivergate. I mean, go see him. He always takes great care of me. He does custom-made suits. No matter what you pull off their rack, though, I mean, he'll make sure it'll look like a custom fit. So excited to always go with those guys, and they always have stuff that you just can't find anywhere. But as far as inspiration for dressing like that, I mean, my career in sales prior to this, definitely always dress nice, suits, you know, things like that. So getting into the moving industry, I kind of miss wearing suits from time to time. So
sure.
But it's nice. I'm always wearing my brand these days, you know, a blue collared shirt, usually with True Friends logo.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. All right. So you guys are starting to mess around in real estate. Yeah. That's something you're looking to get into?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just with moving space too. I mean, we've gotten quite a few properties. We've picked up our second storage facility. So big into storage, looking at potentially a third here in the next 60 days, hopefully. And, but multifamily is kind of the big avenue that I'm looking to and get into next. So excited about that. I signed up with a mentorship recently and just learning all I can about that space for sure.
So who have been, these are there's a couple questions I always pop off. They don't know, nobody knows they're coming, but it's because you've been doing them, right? So obviously if you're doing 75 hard, Frizella is a certain level of influence on you, right? So what are, like, right now I'm rereading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People again for like the 40th time or something like that. I just love it.
Yep.
That one, Think and Grow Rich, The Strangest Secret, and Rich Dad Poor Dad are like the 4, like those are like my 4
great
reruns, right? I just love, for whatever reason, I get a lot out of those and get inspiration every time. What are your top 3 that you keep going back to over and over again?
The 10X rule is probably one of my favorites with Grant Cardone. I mean, it really opens you up and just changes the whole paradigm about where you want to be in life and what really you can accomplish. I mean, not to say what you said, but the Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's huge as far as real estate. Really, again, shows you what's possible. In the middle of Power of One More right now with Ed Milet. That's huge. I love that. I just finished The Example with Ryan Stewman. Love all his books. He's one of my favorite guys to follow. I'm actually in his Apex program right now too.
Okay.
So excited with that as well.
So you've gone to 10X conferences. You've constantly sought out mentorship from people. For me, that was hard to do in the beginning because I felt like it was admitting weakness almost. I was too insecure to go do that. However, I learned very quickly that, like, again, it's pay to play, and I always wanted to be those guys that were hosting those events or doing the keynotes or wrote the book that I never would go to their events. And the moment that I started going to them, not only did I learn, was it worth it, but I got all these, like, those are the best networking. Oh my gosh.
Networking is, I mean, you get in the room with some of these people that are doing, the things that you want to do, you're gradually going to level up. I mean, you won't have no choice. The conversations you have just helps you, just think bigger.
That's right. And like, it's crazy too, because everything's referenced. So like working out, what's heavy to you is the heaviest thing you've ever picked up. If you want to that to feel light, just pick up something heavier, and it's not going to feel as heavy as it did. Right. It was the same way with spending money. I was reading the other day, and I read something real powerful that the difference between the poor and the middle class versus the upper class is when the poor and the middle class are spending money, they traded time for that money. So it's like they're spending their time. It's got this emotional tie to it that if like most people that are in the upper class their money makes money, their investments make money. It's not tied to them spending time physically doing work to get paid, trading time for dollars. Yep. And like that. So like, just like anything else, the first like conference I went to, I think it was like $2,500, and that seemed like a lot. Now I'm like, when they're $2,500, like, oh, that's a cheap one. Let's go to that. Like, that's not a big deal.
You
because
take
you get
one
so
nugget
much
away that'll get your money back, and so it's always a well investment. I mean, I've believed in those for years, and always get my money back tenfold.
And even the guys that are the ones on the stage a lot are still continually seeking out, going as guests and still attending other people's stuff. Everybody's always wanting to grow. Yep. And you can always learn from other people. And it took me a while to get over those insecurities. Did you ever have anything like that? Like, I don't know why I was so insecure about that stuff. I was hungry enough, but for whatever reason, the insecurities outweighed it for me.
I'm not a big networker. I mean, by choice, but just getting out of your comfort zone and just doing it anyway, and you just be shocked how much you're able to gain from it, and how much more comfortable you get the more you do it. It's
That's
just
right.
about repetition, really.
That's right. The we say it all the time. I think it was Brad Lee who told me this the first time, that there's, no matter how you organize it, there's 3 key ingredients to all success of whatever it is, and you could relate it to relationships in your life, spouse, your job, whatever. But like, the first thing you got to do is you got to, number 1 is the mindset. You got to believe that you can do it, or it doesn't, anything after that doesn't matter. Number 2 is the skill set. Skills are something that are developed, right? So you have to develop those skills. And then number 3 is habits or repetition that are going to keep those skills sharp, keep your mindset sharp, and all those type things, right? You mentioned the 10X book. That is a really good book. I can still remember the first time I listened to it. So this is back when I was still cutting my own yard, which I do miss from time to time. But I remember that was my quiet time. The lawnmower was loud. I couldn't hear nothing. Even when people, I'm going to tell a secret. Sometimes my wife or even my son back then would be yelling from the house, "Dad, whatever," and the lawnmower would be on. I'd just be like, "Nope, I don't hear you. I don't hear," and I just keep on going. But I always had the book in. I can remember where I was, what spot in my yard I was at my old house when Grant Cardone told the example in that book of, if you get rear-ended, it's your fault. You could have left 5 seconds earlier or 5 seconds later and changed it. Talking about just taking accountability and responsibility for everything that's going in your life, good and bad, because when you place blame, you can't fix it. You've given away the authority to fix it. And that's the one thing in the book that, like, there's certain things in life that, like, when 9/11 happened, I remember where I was when I first saw it. There's certain things in your life that you just remember where you were at, and you never forget those moments. There's out of all the books I've ever read, that's one, and maybe I should move that one to my top 5 since that's a core memory that I never forget. But the 10X book, but that is a really good one, and it's hard to fail if you just try to 10X everything you do.
Yep. Who Not How is also probably one of my favorites.
I haven't read that one.
Definitely get into that one, especially for you. I mean, the things that you've been able to grow as well. It's not how can you do it. It's who can get me there. Who can get me to that level.
Man, it's guys like you like you're gonna have a podcast one day of your own, and it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Hope so.
I cannot wait.
This definitely removes the stigma of just being uncomfortable for sure.
Man, we need to like your story, the knowledge you got. I would say the biggest problem that you got in your life right now is the fact that if they're not working for you, they're like everybody needs what you're giving those guys that work for you right now. Mm-hmm. It's just how to scale it to the masses after that, right? That's probably like the biggest problem in your life right now. And that's a good problem to have. That's a real good problem to have. So outside of real estate and franchising, what else is you're a dreamer? What else are you wanting to get into?
Really just family. I mean, vacation more, get away more, and spend time, more quality time. Because the last 10 years, I mean, we've been going pretty hard, with growing. So giving back and just spending more time than ever with my family. Really, big goal for this year was to take a 1-week vacation every quarter. So that's definitely on the itinerary still, and that's a big checklist for me this year.
So you mentioned time blocking earlier. Like that's a skill that you find in common with a lot of people that have lots of money. They're as a matter of fact, Marcus Whitney, when he came and spoke to the team one day, he said I thought he was going to talk about sales. He spent the whole hour and a half talking about time, and he called it time blocking.
Yep.
And he was like because time is the most precious commodity you got, and a lot of people won't budget their money. They won't even really budget their money. If they don't budget their money, they definitely don't budget their time. But one affects the other, right? And your time is. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. So when did you start? Like, I didn't start time. I time blocked probably without even realizing I was doing it for a minute. And then once I figured out what it was, it became very intentional. And even now my son time blocks every day. He's got a book on his desk. We call it his power list, where he's got to write down all the things that are important, critical tasks for the next day, and then put them in the blocks, move them over to his calendar, and then whatever else is left, he fills in the blanks, right?
Yeah, staying on schedule is just huge, just to make sure you're maximizing your time, because you only get so much of it. I want to try and do so many different things, so making sure you got enough time for each and devoted, undivided attention for all of it, because all of it's important. I mean, work-life balance is often said, but all of it's important. All we know is go, go, go.
When people use the word, like they're always seeking work-life balance, like you, I'm like, what does that mean? Like people use that term a lot, and I'm like, what does that mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody else. For me, work-life balance, it's always changing because our dreams change, our goals change, we change. But like if there's something that I'm not happy with the balance of it, then like it's my job to fix it, right? So my work-life balance is earned. Like it's all of it's earned.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed with a wife that literally gives me a hard time about nothing. Now I don't. When a lot of my friends, fellow dads, spend 12 to 14 hours a weekend watching football, I'm sorry guys, I think that's wasted time. Like I'd rather, if I'm gonna spend 12, 14 hours, I want to do it something that I'm passionate about, that I can grow with, that's going to make my family and put my family in better shape, or I want to spend it with my family. I don't hang out with, I like the golf, but I golf seven times every year. It's usually for charity or something like that. It's going back to how you spend your time. Working with spouse is it's not for everybody. And you guys have done it. I knew you could sell though, because I've seen your bride. So I knew you could sell, like when you guys are working through those things, because maybe she might feel pressure, you might feel pressure one way or the other. Golly, man, when you're raising kids, like they morph into totally different people. Like multiple times, they were constantly reinventing themselves and growing into their new image. So it's constant change. How are you guys able to manage all that, the balance, the communication? It's got to have some type of systematic, right?
I mean, she's big as well on scheduling and planning. I mean, everything's in the schedule, everything's in a planner. So, you look at guys sometimes, and you wonder how they have it all together. And I feel like time blocking and the way they manage their time is just so important. And somehow be able to pull it off, and just making sure that all of it's just as important.
And I wanted to ask you too, who are some folks that you that like some of the greatest mentors in my life? I don't know them and they don't know me, but I have access to their curriculum or I mean, gosh, if you're not learning, like if you're not getting the most out of YouTube, I mean, it's endless,
Yep.
Endless stuff. Who are some people that have had a big impact on your life besides your mom?
Yeah, I mean, Grant Cardone is probably a huge inspiration.
I've never been to a 10X event. How many have you been to? Two.
Yep.
Who was your favorite? So who'd you hear speak at those? I mean, he brings everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Ed Milet was a big one. Brad Leah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed hearing him, and I mean, those have been huge inspiration.
Yeah, Brad's phenomenal. You need to know Brad. We need to make that happen. I don't know Grant, but Grant did a show called Undercover Billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved it. Because I get some of it has to be staged to make things happen and whatnot. But dude, still watching everything all the experiences that he did. Did you watch that show when he was on it? Everything that he did, that's legit. Like that's what it's like. Like you can't. I mean, sure that maybe some things where people are like, oh, that was staged, but the circumstances. Like those people didn't know him before he got there, and he still had to do all those things. He was still making all those calls. He was still separated from his family. I thought that was one of the coolest things to watch.
That's the best part about business, really, is the ground up. My biggest looking back. I mean, I was excited to at that level of growing from infancy to where we are now, and I'd honestly love to do it again. This thing now is a machine, though. It's hard to start over, but that's why another reason why I want to get into franchising, because helping those startups start out and get them to the level they're at, there's nothing more fun than that.
And you're really great with at the end of the day, your ability to scale is based on your process or your framework.
Yep.
And what are some of the other like the Marcus Lemonis had a show for a long time called The Profit. Loved that show.
Oh, yeah.
I learned a lot from that show.
I did too, yeah.
I used to back when we were in the bar business, I used to like Bar Rescue with John Taffer.
Yeah.
I like those. Obviously, Shark Tank was a favorite for a long time. Like a lot of those things, like just the questions they were asking and the conversations they were having, I'm like, I've never used those words before. I might need to start.
Space, like business leaders are the new rock stars, really.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the guys I follow and always inspired to be like and learn from.
And another thing that you, because you have quite at least a couple of cool collections of automobiles, blue, right?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. So you got a big passion for cars. Where'd that come from? And I mean, I know you got. I've seen at least one cool one that you got. So what's going on? How'd you find your passion for cars? And I take it you probably bought your favorite one.
I do, yeah. So my McLaren is probably my favorite car. I mean, every few years I try to level up and go to my new favorite, because at one time my last car, like my R8, was also my favorite. But after owning it for a few years, it was just time to get something different. But being in the automotive industry prior, I mean, I did marketing with them and just always been a car guy. Loved cars, can talk cars, can drive cars. Really, my one of my favorite pastime or getaways is going to the actual track and just really unwinding, unplugging and just becoming one with the road and really just getting excited behind the wheel. Yeah, I love cars.
Well, so I'm not a car guy. I'm not ashamed to admit it. My son is, so I'm learning a lot through him, living a lot through him. He loves it, and we'll be driving. He'll be like, "Boom! Did you see that? Or you see that?" I'm like,
"That was me from the time I was playing with Matchbox. I mean, just that into cars for sure. So ever since I can remember, I've always wanted that one and the next one and this one, and I love them all too. I'm not just partial to one brand or one type of car for sure.
You probably learned a lot about if you can sell insurance and you can sell cars, you can basically sell just about anything. So you work, tell me about your experience and what was something that you took away from the automotive space that's helped you today?
Overcoming objections is really probably the biggest thing that I took away from that, and just personal branding. same with that, referrals, repeat customers, just making sure you stayed in communication with them and was friendly enough. And I mean, like anything, sales is not transactional, it's relational. So you want to just invest in them and just be a friend. Lock me in your phone and call me anytime you want us, because even now I'm like Chris Knowles, the moving guy or something. They usually lock me in their phone, so at all times I'm getting calls on my personal line, even though we have a dedicated sales line. At this level, I constantly got to keep pushing them back away from my cell, but I'm still like locked in their phone as the moving guy or something.
That's right. And like contacts lead to contracts, man. You know what I mean? Well, yeah. It was, so I've always loved Jeeps. For no other reason than I just thought they were cool when I was a kid.
Yeah, I love Jeeps too. Like I said, I love all cars. I've owned a Jeep too.
Man, I love mine, and the one I got, it was my dream one. And it's funny because people ask me a lot of questions like, what size tires you have on it. I'm like, I don't know. I bought it the way I bought it. They're like, what? They'll ask me all these specs about it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, it's black.
Yeah.
I'm like that guy. Like that.
I like power. Although the Jeep was super cool, I'm more of a power guy. I like, horsepower, and that one just didn't do it for me. But, for the most part, I still love Jeeps though. They're definitely a lot of fun. Take the top off with your family.
That's it. That's what we like to do. All right. And then I got to ask this too. And you didn't know I was going to ask this question either. So one of my favorite things to ask people that in industries I'm not familiar with is like, I mean, you guys have seen, I bet you could have a whole podcast just telling stories of stuff that y'all found, or like there's just a lot that can happen in the space you guys are in, right? So like, are there three things that you could tell, three stories you could tell that stand out to you in 10 years, and then whether it happened to you or somebody else, without throwing anybody under the bus?
That we found
or happened, or here's an example. So when I first started my insurance agency, we didn't have internet leads. It was all local. It was face to face. You drove to people's homes. It was door to door. And I remember I got somebody had called from something on Facebook and said, "Hey, this person needs your help." It was an hour away, first of all, and then it was in such a like remote, weird Sticks County type place that like their trailer that they lived in didn't even like, so that it's like going to an address of brand new construction. It takes you into a bunch of trees on the map. Like, so like it took me a minute to find this house, this trailer. And I finally get there and I don't know if I'm in the right space. And so I go up and I knock on the door. And when the lady opened the front door, I thought the house was on fire. It was that much cigarette smoke that came pouring out of it. Like she had cigarettes in her hand, and was smoking multiple ones, and her husband had just had my man's walking around carrying the oxygen tank with no shirt on. He had the fresh scar from like where he'd had the gigantic heart surgery.
Yep.
And he had an oxygen tank and 2 cigarettes.
Oh my goodness.
And another one lit in the ashtray. And I'm like, man, this sucks. So I go in there, and obviously like people that just had heart surgeries, that's not a great candidate for an insurance policy, so I'm in there and I'm doing my thing. It's a great learning experience anyways. They got this little dog that's probably like 200 years old, and all it could do was like hump my leg. And it was just, it's like I'm sitting here, I've got paper brochures, I got this dude with an open wound on his chest, blowing cigarette smoke in my face, and their little dog is humping my leg for an hour. And of course I walked out not without a deal because they were uninsurable at that time.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be an example, like where I thought the lady's house was on fire because they smoked so much cigarettes in it.
I mean, you can just imagine what we deal with. I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, we see the most private, intimate places in people's homes and rooms that you're not supposed to see, and be there, or experiences, domestic situation, drug situations, alcohol, people have been under the influence during moves. There's been
you probably find weapons and all kinds of stuff.
Sexual. I mean, it's crazy the things that you would find in a home up underneath mattresses when we flip it up. There's just so many comical situations that it's almost normal at this point. There's nothing we really haven't seen at this point, and we just got to stay professional. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun.
Well, folks, when you are preparing your home for a move, remember that secret stash in the nightstand. Somebody's got to pull that drawer out.
That's right.
Oh man. Well, dude, brother, I'm so grateful that you came in. It's an unbelievable story. You guys are just getting started. When you do for your own, when you like, you're just starting to do stuff for your own personal brand, the way you've done it for the business, which has been bar none spectacular. So nothing but big things coming from you in the future. But I mean, again, the story just going from you like leaving a six-figure good job,
Yep.
and you and another guy from the weight room and a truck.
That's it.
Man, that's unbelievable. I just like I have a hard time kind of just getting over that, just because it's those stories are so few and far between. Like, I didn't even ask you, did you take out any investment monies from anybody or any? You just used your own 401k?
I didn't. Yeah, just my own money. I had enough saved up to buy a little truck and put a little website together and a logo and just started going after it.
Man, so folks, if you're looking for sometimes you just got to go out and do something that you're not necessarily wanting to do.
Yep.
And bootstrap it to get to the next place you need to go. So it's, I didn't enjoy the educational part of college, but I had to go to class if I wanted to play the sport that they paid me to do.
Yep.
And if I didn't go to the classes, then I wouldn't have been able to play past college. Right. So sometimes that's just the journey. And, most people just quit before they get to the next spot. How long were you at Dell before you made that move?
About 3.5 years.
That's a long time.
It was. And just kept going from department and growing. I was called an LOR when I left. It was a large opportunity rep. So it was like a dream job. I had a team. They would sub up all the big deals, and I would close them and overcome objections. I mean, that was my goal. And it was such a great job and cush job. And it was just time to. I mean, I essentially hit a glass ceiling though from where I was at, and it was time to invest in myself and just build something that I just knew I could do.
Well, dude, that's a great place to kind of bring it to a close. Is there anything else you'd want to leave anybody with, or anything else you'd want to leave everybody with? I should say.
Just go after your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that it's a silly idea. If you believe in it, just give it your all and go after it.
And the 10X book is a great first book if they're wanting to get into that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I think it might have been one of the first 2 or 3 that I read that really made I used to hate reading.
Yeah.
And people are always like, read this book. The moment I figured out you could listen to them cutting grass changed everything.
I'll usually experiment on audio first, and then if I love the audio, I'll also grab the book just so I hit it both ways.
I love it. Well, folks, once again, I've got in the Hit Lab with me today the founder and president of True Friends Moving Company, Chris Knowles, and the website's truefriendsmoving.com, on Instagram at Chris Rolls, at True Friends Moving, right? And they can check you out and follow and all those good things.
That's it.
Well, brother, thanks so much for hanging today. You have blessed a lot of people, I promise.
Thank you.
I promise.
Thankful to have you.
Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.